Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a love themed card using an amazing set by Paperie ink and my leftovers from the Bar None Slimline Die. Now this stamp set that I'm using today is Balloon Ride, and as you can see there are several stamps inside of this set and you can combine them to create one image. Now, as far as I know, there aren't any matching dies out there for this stamp set, and well, I don't like fussy cutting, so I decided to puzzle my image together and stamping it out using some masks and making sure that everything aligned perfectly. Now, as you saw me doing, I stamped this balloon onto a piece of acetate, and this way I knew how this balloon was positioned on in my other Misty. So it's staying in there, and I want these giraffes and the heartstring to be on there. Now, it's not always as easy to align everything, so first try didn't work out, so I'm starting over. I am first again stamping out my balloon, and I will replace the images that I want to be incorporated in this image and try it out again. Now, sorry for my head, it is a bit in the way, but truly to line things up, I'm not a pro, but I need to hang over those things like crazy. So just once that's done, I'm trying it out again. This is on acetate, so I can easily clean this off. And then when I am done with the acetate, I clean it off and stick it behind one of those pads inside of my Misty, and that's just handy. So I'm first stamping these images that are overlapping the base image, and then I'm going to create these two masks. I need to fussy cut them out, and I already stamped out the other images as well, because I guess I'm going to make a lot of cards with this set. The idea of doing this is that afterwards I only need to fussy cut one image out, the big balloon, and that would also be easier than all those tiny corners of the string and the giraffes. And for the mask that I'm making right now, well, it's less daunting. I don't have to have an even wide border all over. So I prefer doing it like this, and then actually in the end it will seem like this image was one image from the start. But we know that there was a lot of effort to get it like this. Now, first one done onto the string, and as you can see me, I barely move my scissors. I mostly move the paper around, and I just find that easier. It's also what other crafters recommended when I started doing masks, and I never diverted from this strategy. So the string isn't as easy because it's tiny and there are a lot of corners and stuff, but it worked out fine, and afterwards I can still reuse this mask because I only did it to stamp out images. So on to the other Misties. So for this it's handy if you have several Misties. I'm sorry for my voice. That's handy. If you don't have it, but you, for example, have a big one, you can maybe use just the left and the right side of the image. Well, not of the image, but you can see there is a lot of space left in the Misty, so as long as the images aren't overlapping when you replace your paper where you're stamping on, I think it would work as well on just one Misty or one stamping tool that you have. So here I'm cleaning that one off, and I can just put it underneath for next time. So for the coloring of this image, I'm going to use my Copic markers, and I'm keeping the coloring quite simple. I'm reusing a lot of colors, so there aren't a lot of markers going into this image. And as you know me, I work from darkest to lightest. There are several ways to color with alcohol markers, also with the Spectrum Noirs and others that are around. There are a lot of people actually that start with a layer of the lightest color and then darkest, medium, lightest and such. But I have noticed for myself that it's just easier for me to blend when I have the darkest one first and going from there. Now also, this paper that I'm using is a Transotype perfect coloring paper, and if you're around here often, then you probably know what I'm going to say. But if you're new, This paper is one of those papers that allows me to really add a lot of layers if necessary, but it also asks to have at least 2 layers of my colors that I'm using to have that blend that I want, the depth that I want. But if needed, I can just keep adding and adding and adding. So I'm coloring the giraffes the same way. I just thought that was cute, but there are many color combinations that you can use for your giraffes, even the non-existing but cute ones. But I just went for just simple coloring on these. And then I went on with the balloon. Now the balloon, actually I started with coloring of this image and I didn't know where the card was going, but I really like the blue that I'm going to use for the balloon and reds, so that's why I actually chose this combination. And it's quite simple. I'm using the same colors all over this balloon to keep it simple at the same time. You can also add a lot of colors. You can make a rainbow balloon, wonderful as well. But for this card, well, it was going to be a cat. I didn't know how, but I just thought keep it simple. Don't exaggerate with all the colors and the craziness. So that's why I did the coloring like this. And once I have this one on there, I decided to already do a bit of cleaning up. As you know me, I just prefer keeping the colors inside of the lines, and except when I'm going over that area with a darker color, I prefer using a colorless blender to make sure that, well, the color is where I wanted it to be and not on some other areas. So on to my second layer now, to get the depth that I want, as well as the finishing, because I don't want any specific streaks to be showing, except for the ones where I do my blending with the other color. And then I can go to the lighter areas. And as you can see, I often use 3 colors to do my blending, but in this case I just thought that 2 was enough, as well as I have this combination of these 3 BGs that I really like together, and I needed actually 2 different combos. So if I just use the mid-tone and the darkest and the mid-tone and the lightest, I had 2 combos that would work perfectly together. So that was the reasoning behind these colors. And once I'm happy with the balloon, having done my second layer and all, and maybe a bit more, I could start on the heart, which are all in the same reds. So for the reds, I wanted to have a bright red, so I have R39, 37 and 35 for today's red. But there are so many color combinations, it's actually crazy. From all my Copic markers, I think I have the most reds, and well, there are just too many combinations to use them all every time. So these are the hearts. I'm just going to reinforce a darker color by adding another layer, and once that's done, I'm actually going to do some finishing details already, which is a bit strange. Well, first fussy cutting, and then I will add some finishing details. And as you can see here, because I added everything together on this one image, it's actually not a difficult image to fussy cut. And that's what I was going for, because, well, I'm not an expert and I prefer actually using matching dies. I would prefer them all the time over fussy cutting, but when we need to do that, we do that. So here we went for the crazy embellishing. Well, I didn't know where my card was going, so I could also just add already the stickles, and in the end I added stickles and glossy accents. Call me crazy, indeed. There was a lot of moisture and it took a long time to dry. Really long time, but I really like how it ended up. So for the background I took an A2 size panel and I took all the reds or the warm scraps that I had from using the Bar None Slimline Die by Crafty Meraki. Now, if you didn't know it yet, it's my favorite slimline die so far anywhere. Like, not an other brand has a slimline die that I prefer more than the Bar None Slimline Die by Crafty Meraki. Now that also means, and you can see that in the cards that I shared over, well, since I have the die since January, yes, you can see that I quite often have these stripes or the slimline die used on my cards. It's just because it's my favorite and I love it. And since I used it so often, I have quite a lot of stripes lying around everywhere. In the past I already did some other striped cards like this, some vertical, some horizontal. On Instagram I shared one with the rainbow, and on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel you can also find a non-slimline die using a rainbow assortment of these stripes, or strips, maybe strips is better. So of these strips. Yeah, just I cannot stop with it. Like, once I start with these strips and using them, I just keep going. And I like to vary the length of the strip that I'm using on the base, but you can do evenly, or you can also, something that I didn't try yet, just use those strips. Wow, the whole video is filled with stripes, I think. I'm sorry. But you could also use these strips if you cut them a bit shorter, just in the middle, in the center of your panel, or even not cut it shorter, but just use it in the middle. That I didn't do yet, but you can use it in any way you want to, and I just love it. It creates such a fun background, and at the same time it's really neat and tidy, and it definitely fits as a cast card in my opinion, clean and simple, but so much fun to create. I could really do this all day. Just give me all the strips, because I don't like die cutting. And that's also something that I really like about this slimline die, is that, well, you have several strips with one die cut. Yeah, I know, it's genius. So that's my background. I'm trimming off the excess, and then I need to figure out the sentiment. So this was really coming together organically, like one thing led to another thing, led to placement, led to anything, you know? So, for the sentiment, I'm using this adorable sentiment from the stem set saying the beginning of something beautiful, and I just thought that it was so fitting with two giraffes there. Adding the balloon using some thin foam squares, and then I'm going to finish this card off by adding this panel onto a card base and adding a little heart, a red one. Well, it fits with the other reds. A red one from the Sweet-N-Tart Heart Sprinkle Mix by Trinity stamps. And then this one is done, but really done. And I just love it. I love using these strips. I really do. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, of course, as well, because, well, if I cannot hold myself, then my YouTube channel will get filled with cards like this. But anyway, if you love greens, then you use greens. If you love warm tones, you can use warm tones. If you love the rainbow, you use rainbow strips. The sky is the limit. And if you don't have this slimline die, well, you just cut your own strips. That also works, but I'm lazy, you know? So I'm happy that the die cut thingy does everything for me. So that is my card. Can you see the gloss? Oh my. So I truly hope that you enjoyed this video, and of course that you like the end result as much as I do. I wish you all a fabulous day, and I will be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!